Call this May 13th meeting of City Council to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Gray, Councilmember Chu,
Here.
Councilmember McBride,
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell, Councilmember Brady, Councilmember Gregory, Councilmember Waring, Councilmember Seekins, Councilmember Tinkler, Councilmember Bowden, Councilmember Appel, Councilmember Parker, Mayor Cox.
Here. I'd now like to ask Councilmember Brady to give the invocation and lead everybody in the pledge. He is going to be out, so Councilmember Waring.
That's great. Heavenly Father, we want to show you today. Let us be humble. Let us think of those like fortunate. Let us come with the best of our intellect, quality work. And let us make our staff by access today up to this forward on. We pray for those in our military, both there and far, for them and their families. And we pray for the less choice. Help them see better days. Thank you for Mother Earth, the meeting the provision which provides for us. These prayers we bring forth in your name, just for I pledge allegiance.
Right, we have several presentations and recognitions tonight. First up, we have a proclamation honoring Jewish Heritage Month. I'd like to ask Nair Tudajay, CEO of the Jewish Federation, as well as Brandon Fish, Director of Community Relations and board members of the Charleston Jewish Federation, join me here at the podium. Okay, whereas Jewish American Heritage Month is celebrated annually in May to honor the generations of Jewish Americans who have contributed to the history and culture of our nation. Whereas Jewish Americans have been an integral part of Charleston's vibrant history, with the first Jewish settlers arriving in the 1690s, establishing a lasting presence that continues to enrich the city today. Whereas KKB Synagogue, founded in 1749 in Charleston, is the historic birthplace of Reformed Judaism in the United States. And whereas Jewish Americans have made significant contributions to Charleston's economic development through entrepreneurship, business leadership, and innovation, playing a key role in building a thriving local economy. And whereas the Jewish community has enriched Charleston's arts and culture, supporting institutions, artists, and events that celebrate creativity and foster cross-cultural appreciation. And whereas Jewish Americans from Charleston have honorably served in the United States military, demonstrating courage, patriotism, and commitment to protecting the freedoms we hold dear. And whereas Jewish physicians, researchers, and healthcare professionals have made critical contributions to medicine and healthcare in Charleston, improving lives and advancing the well-being of the entire community. Whereas the Jewish community in Charleston has established cultural institutions, synagogues, and organizations that have enriched the city's religious, social, and cultural fabric while educating and serving the public, fostering dialogue and mutual understanding among groups, and promoting a welcoming, inclusive community for all residents. And whereas recognizing and celebrating Jewish American Heritage Month reaffirms our city's commitment to combating prejudice, standing against anti-Semitism, and all forms of hate and promoting unity among all of Charleston's residents. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell Jr., Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Jewish American Heritage. Okay. You get a picture. Next up, we have a proclamation recognizing National Police Week, and I would like for Chief Walker to join me up at the podium. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the City of Charleston, the Police Department. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, there are currently more than 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States that have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including 24 known members of the Charleston Police Department. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the names of the dedicated public servants killed in the line of duty are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas 345 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 148 officers killed in 2024 and 197 officers killed in previous years. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 37th annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2025. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-mast. And whereas we publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in the communities across the nation, and we thank them for safeguarding the lives of our citizens. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim May 11th through May 17th, 2025, in the City of Charleston to be National Police Week. Next up, we have a proclamation recognizing the Charleston Housing Authority, and I'd like to ask Director Art Milligan and members of the Housing Authority Board to please join me up here at the podium. And as a member of the Housing Authority Board, it is important to point out that we have a former City Council member. This is Carol Jackson. Whereas the Housing Authority of the City of Charleston was established on May 5th, 1935, following the passage of the Housing Authorities Law by the South Carolina General Assembly and a City Council resolution recognizing the need to combat substandard housing and conditions. And whereas the CHA, as it is known, was founded during a period when nearly half of the homes in Charleston lacked indoor plumbing and entire neighborhoods were deemed uninhabitable, and have since worked tirelessly to improve housing conditions, revitalize communities, and provide safe, decent, and affordable housing for low, moderate income residents. And whereas CHA's enduring mission has been included not only in the construction and maintenance of public housing from Meeting Street Manor, Robert Mills Manor to Grace Homes and Williams Terrace, but also bold redevelopment and resident empowerment efforts that have enhanced the quality of life for generations of Charlestonians. And whereas the authority has consistently evolved to meet the needs of the present while honoring the lessons of the past, pioneering innovative projects like scattered site housing, senior housing facilities, and public-private partnerships through the RAD program to reposition and preserve its affordable housing portfolio. And whereas the CHA has been nationally recognized for excellence in design, innovation, operations, resident services, including awards from HUD, the American Institute of Architects, and the National Endowment for Arts, while uplifting residents through education, empowerment, and opportunity. And whereas the Housing Authority continues to shape Charleston's architecture, cultural landscape, while working in collaboration with the city to develop vibrant mixed-income communities. And whereas this 90th anniversary marks not only an historical milestone, but a moment to renew our collective commitment to ensuring that every Charlestonian has access to quality, affordable housing and a pathway to a brighter future. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim May 5th, 2025, Housing Authority, the City of Charleston. Thank you. Final proclamation for tonight is one recognizing National Tennis Month. And I'd like to ask Bob Pfeiffer from the Low Country Tennis Association and Kimberly Faust, City Tennis Manager, to join me at the podium. A few others. Whereas the United States Tennis Association, USTA, the nonprofit national governing body for tennis, has declared the month of May as National Tennis Month to encourage players, organizations, facilities, and others to promote local programs to showcase tennis and spread the word about the sport and its benefits. And whereas the Low Country Tennis Association, the fourth largest city-based tennis league in the nation, joins with other local tennis organizations such as the Low Country Youth Tennis Association, the Charleston Area Ladies Tennis Association, the Charleston Area Adaptive Tennis Community, the Charleston West Side Tennis Club, and a host of public and private tennis facilities provide ample opportunities for our citizens to enjoy this great game. And whereas the City of Charleston Department of Recreation organizes the School Team Tennis League, which in the spring of 2025 was comprised of 169 teams and over 2,000 players. Whereas the City of Charleston Department of Recreation founded the award-winning Courting Kids program, now over 30 years old, that has provided our youth from 5 to 17 the opportunity to participate in a tennis program that enables them to build self-esteem, to achieve personal successes through a variety of tennis experiences. And whereas for the third consecutive year, the Credit One Charleston Open, COCO, was named the Women's Tennis Association Tournament of the Year. Of a particular note, tournament was recognized this year for the excellence of its staff in making the players feel welcome and supported, a talent which all Charlestonians are noted for on a daily basis. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell Jr., Mayor of the City of Charleston, who hereby proclaim May 25 National Tennis Month.
Thank you, Mayor Cogswell. Speaking for the entire tennis community of the Charleston area, we appreciate the support that you and the city council are given for this game that we all love so much. My name is Bob Piper, and I serve on the board of directors for both the Low Country Tennis Association and the Low Country Youth Tennis Association. In my 80s, I'm still an active tennis player, and I firmly believe that tennis has added to my longevity. And there are others that are older than I am that say the same thing. Joining me today are a number of others in the Charleston tennis community, and I quickly want to introduce them to you. First is Kim Fouts. As I expect you know, Peggy Bone, the longtime director of the tennis for the city of Charleston, retired a couple of months ago, and Kim is the new director. She's a very active and very good tennis player, and I think she was a great choice to fill Peggy's tennis. I urge you to stop by, you the council members, stop by the Charleston Tennis Center to talk tennis with her and to give her your wholehearted support. He is also on the board of directors of the Charleston Area Ladies Tennis Association. Second is Lance Tyner, who is the captain of the city of the teams, a number of teams that play out of the city's Maybank tennis facility on James Island. He is here with several of his teammates who last summer advanced to the USTA National Championships, the ultimate dream of non-professional tennis players. To get there, they had to win our local league, win the state championship, win the championship of the 9 states that comprise the USTA Southern Section. The Nationals, they finished with a 2-2 record and ended up 10th in the nation, a remarkable accomplishment. Third is Charlotte Gerber, who has served on the Low Country Tennis Association Board of Directors for a number of years. He last year played on 16 different teams. Finally, Patrick Eber and Rob Eppelstein. They're two of the key people in what is known as the Credit One Charleston Open, COCO. The COCO tennis tournament came to Charleston in 2001, and hard as it is to believe, they've gotten better every year after every year. when they heard that this meeting was being held on Daniel Island, they jumped at the chance to say a few words of appreciation for the support the tennis tournament has received from the city.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. On behalf of the Credit One Charleston Open, I would like to express our deep appreciation for the support we've seen from the city of Charleston and its representatives, and also the community in the city of Charleston. As Bob kind of said a minute ago, we have been here for 25 years, running now for 3 years in a row, the best WTA 500 event in the world in Charleston, with having about 100,000 people coming out for this weekly event, which makes us really proud. It's only possible through the strong partnership and the support that we get from the city every year of those 25 years. In addition to that, with the LTP at Daniel Island Tennis Center, we have over 1,000 tennis playing members. We have countless leagues, countless tournaments. We are very accessible to all members of the Charleston community, from the 5-year-old beginner to the 75-year-old or 80-year-old tennis player of all levels, all the way up to a tennis academy that gets kids into college every year on a tennis scholarship. So once again, thank you very much for the continued support, and we're looking forward what the next years hold for us. Thank you.
Closing, number one, I also need to introduce my wife, who is over here, a very attractive young lady, and who in fact is one of the best non-professional tennis players in the area. So congratulations. To all of you from the council, I urge you to take advantage of your tennis balls, give the game a try. You find that if you decide you really can't do that, find some kids who would like to have tennis balls and have a chance to maybe learn how to play tennis. So be a sport of a lifetime for them. Thank you very much, all of you.
Okay, moving on, we have no public hearings tonight. So brings us to approval of council minutes. Motion to approve in a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. We're now on to citizens' participation. This period of meeting has 30 minutes total allotted for it. Madam Clerk, how many people do we have signed up to speak?
We have 26.
Okay, we're going to limit it to 1 minute because we've got to get everybody hopefully in. So Madam Clerk, would you please, and I'm going to ask that all speakers, we have rules of decorum that need to be respected during these public commentary periods. These are places for your voices to be heard. This is not a direct interaction or question and answer with council members. So we ask that you respect the rules of decorum. If you are not respecting it, I will give you 1 warning. If I have to give you a second warning, you'll be asked to leave the meeting. So, Madam Clerk, please call the first speaker.
All right, and our rules require that speakers speaking on agenda items go first. The first speaker is Carol Jackson, former Councilmember Carol Jackson.
Good evening. I live on James Island. I've come tonight to be honored with the Housing Authority, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to ask the council to maybe take another look at 0 Folly Road and vote to not annex Folly Road into the city. I would remind the council that we had a very similar case to this. I think it was 2018, early 2019, when the Lackey subdivision on Johns Island needed 1 more parcel to be the linchpin in order to redevelop that whole section of very at-risk watershed area of Johns Island. This is very similar on James Island. The south part of James Island along Seaside Creek and that whole Brimble extended up to Secessionville is very low lying. It's been identified by the Comprehensive Water Plan to be a watch area for adaptive
Time.
mitigation. Please say no.
Rhonda Walters.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to speak, to ask City Council to deny the annexation into the Zero Folly Road. Our concerns, the community concerns are, the impact of drainage, water flow, wetlands area, the loss of green space and the habitat and habitation. We also feel that this area, infrastructure cannot handle traffic. This is a grassroots neighborhood that's already have issues with drainage. And we do hope that you would consider the impact that this particular annexation will create for the citizens there. So we're asking you to consider denying the annexation. We know that the denial will only reduce the number of construction, but please consider that and consider what the impact would have on the citizens and the community there. Thank you very much.
Stuart Walters.
Not to be redundant, but wife told me I had to speak, but she just left you. But I gotta do it. So I agree with those who have spoken before me regarding the annexation of Zero Folly Road. I've lived there for about 18 years and I've seen what had happened there when it rained. A lot of folks come by after the rain is gone. Come there during the day that it rained, it floods that entire street. Now, having the annexation done brings another 68 homes, I believe they're trying to bring in there. Basically mean another 168 cars to that area. I'm not sure whether the plans call for them to have exit and entries on Grimble as well as Folly Road, but the infrastructure cannot handle it. We'd like to see some sidewalks, if we can talk about some sidewalks. That would be helpful for the neighborhood. So we're asking you to please deny the annexation of Zero Folly Road. Thank you.
Tracy Taft. And actually, if everyone could queue up after Tracy, Daniel Knapp, followed by Josh Dix.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Tapp. I live on Johns Island. I'm here on behalf of the organization 50501. We're a national organization organizing protests around the country. We are nonpartisan and we are nonviolent. We've hosted 3 events in Charleston over the last couple months with between 500 and 1,200 attendees. We recently applied for a permit with the Charleston Police Department under the First Amendment demonstration ordinance for an event on June 14th. That permit was denied. And we were told it was because, quote, of the size of our event. We estimated that we would have 1,600 people there. We were told that we needed to use the city's special events permitting process. For an event that size, it will take us money and 3 months to get a permit. We just want to exercise our First Amendment rights. We just want to be on a sidewalk with a sign. We have appealed this ruling. We hope to work with you on getting that changed.
Daniel Knapp, followed by Josh Dix.
I think we're all aware of the First Amendment of our Constitution prohibits any law which abridges freedom of speech or the right of people to assemble peacefully. Charleston's First Amendment ordinance, as it is currently being applied, bridges both. As such, enforcement of this ordinance recently appeared to be taking on political bias overtones is clearly unconstitutional. I understand that the ACLU is taking up this issue. and will likely bring legal action against the city. I think city council would be wise to avoid the expense of an unwinnable battle by suspending the ordinance immediately. This is not to say that there are not legitimate issues with public order and public safety.
Time.
These can be dealt with easily.
Josh,
Point on the decorum, if people could avoid from clapping or jeering, that's a decorum issue.
all right, Josh Dix, followed by Robert Giron and Chris Tittle.
Mayor, members of council, I'm Josh Dix. I'm the Vice President Advocacy for the Charleston Private Association of Realtors and 640 Rutledge Avenue. And I'm here tonight to say thank you for recognizing my friend Dale Morris with the park on Johns Island. Dale and I had a lot of great conversations about land use and land planning and how our region should grow. And we recently had a really great regional planning discussion at Reality Check 2.0 that I think Dale would be proud of. And we look forward to working with the city as y'all resume the zoning and land use conversation. We've recently launched charlestonmissingmiddle.com to help educate and talk about the benefits of transit-oriented development along the Low Country Rapid Transit Corridor. And we just encourage you to continue the Waterwise series and this public discussion about how we can continue to grow and meet our region's growing demands. Thank you.
Robert Giron, Chris Tittle, and Mallory Balling.
Hey, I'm here to speak against the Charleston's anti-free speech ordinance passed 4 years ago to suppress justified public outrage over police violence levied against Black Americans across the nation. And the ordinance does not keep us safe. Last year, I joined a peaceful demonstration in solidarity with the Palestinian people, attended by children and elderly alike. Police arrived in force to surround and intimidate the demonstrators. They wouldn't allow us to leave for some time, provoking intense anxiety in many of them. And now my friends face jail time for speaking out under this ordinance. And this year, police violently cracked down on and jailed community members speaking out against the illegal detention and deportations carried out by ICE, also citing the ordinance. At the end of the day, the First Amendment permit is arbitrarily granted by the chief of police and can be declined at their discretion. In an environment where the police are collaborating with ICE as they subvert due process and deport our neighbors, can we trust that they will permit criticism of their very own institutions? We ask that you rescind this unconstitutional ordinance immediately.
Chris Tittle, Mallory Balling, and Gabriel Raxings. Apologies if I mispronounced the last name.
Good evening. I live in District 7. I'm here to call on this council to repeal the First Amendment repression ordinance. As you just heard, it was passed in 2021 explicitly in response to community outrage and grief over the police murder of Jamal Sutherland while incarcerated in Alabama Detention Center. It has since been used to criminalize speech in defense of Black lives, in defense of immigrant lives, and in defense of Palestinian lives. Silencing speech does not make us safer. I myself am facing 30 days in jail in Alabama Detention Center, the same place where 14 people have died due to the conditions since 2021, for the simple act of standing with my neighbors in Marion Square on a sunny afternoon. This ordinance does not make me safer, does not make my family safer. It does not make our community safer, because it is this slow erosion of our fundamental rights that leads to exactly where we are now, where masked agents of the federal government can kidnap people off the streets and illegally
Time.
detain or deport them.
Mallory Balling, Gabriel, and John Baylor.
I am here to call upon the council to repeal the public demonstration approval ordinance that unduly restricts freedom of speech. The context of its passing, following protests over the excessive use of force by law enforcement, make its intention clear, ensuring that the police are a politically unassailable institution that cannot be questioned, because police officers and prison guards are apparently incapable of committing any criticism. Now this ordinance is being leveraged by the police to stifle criticism of national political figures and movements, using it as a pretense to quash protests and excuse repressive measures against peaceful demonstrators. They believe in the First Amendment only when it's used to say what they want to hear or don't care about. Whether a demonstration meets their personal approval should not be a deciding factor in it happening, especially when the police have shown that they will happily silence dissent through use of force. This is not about public safety. This is about political control. And they cannot be trusted to decide the worthiness of demonstrations when they themselves have demonstrated that certain parts of the public are apparently unworthy of being safe.
Gabriel.
My name is Gabriel Rogasner. On April 5th, there was a spontaneous nationwide protest called Hands Off that drew somewhere between 3 and 5 million people in 1,100 cities. The protest for this area, however, happened in Somerville because Charleston did not grant the permit for protesting. This stifled their voice and the right to free expression that they should have enjoyed as Americans, which is the most important right of our democracy. Our First Amendment right to protest should not require permission. I understand that it's useful to the police to know where protests will happen. I'm not opposed to a voluntary notification system, but the citizens' right to protest should not be sacrificed because of convenience for police. I ask you to repeal this ordinance.
John Baylor. Max Sorgenfrey and Daniel Cleveland.
Evening, John Baker, Charleston Firefighter Association, Local 61 President. May is Firefighter Mental Health Awareness Month, a time to reflect on how we care for one another, especially our firefighters who often bear the invisible burden of others' tragedies. Just in recent weeks, our crews have witnessed shootings, fatal accidents, overdoses, SIDS cases, and suicides. These aren't rare events. They're our everyday reality. We pride ourselves on strength, but true strength includes asking for help and having access to real support. While we have peer support teams and limited clinician access, it often is not enough. Worse, our health insurance still doesn't fully support our mental health needs, which is where we saw retiree Chief Chris Van Hoy take his life less than a year ago. This isn't just another major incident. It's an accumulated toll: sleep deprivation, missed milestones, and chronic overwork. Cost of living adds further mental strain. Many firefighters work 70 hours or more a week to juggle their current living abilities, and some even have multiple jobs. We attempt to use earned vacation or sick leave, but it cuts into our pay by hundreds, depending your rank and step, which causes some not to use it and lose it.
Time. Max, Daniel, and Jacob.
Hi, I'd like to tell a quick story about the First Amendment and my personal experience with it. I did 6 years in the Navy. I operated a nuclear reactor on a submarine, and I was stationed in Kingsbury, Georgia. And every once in a while, when driving into work, I'd be confronted by anti-war nuclear power, nuclear missile protesters. They'd say some things. I'd drive in peacefully, and it made me a little uncomfortable. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it didn't. But it's the right to free speech, not the right to comfortable speech. And I knew at the end of the day that I was driving into work to defend the right to do that, and I was proud of that. And I knew that one day there might be something that I care so deeply about that I'd want to speak up about it. And I feel like the city of Charleston is not granting me the rights that I thought to defend. And I would just like to ask the city council to reconsider their current stance on the First Amendment ordinance, either through a reform or through rescinding it, to enable me to enjoy the rights that I fought for others to enjoy as well. Thank you.
Daniel and Jacob.
Hi there. My name is Daniel Cleveland. I'm from Mount Pleasant, and I'm here in support of the council repealing or significantly changing the First Amendment demonstration ordinance. Protests are meant to be of sight and sound of their intended audience. You move it, you reduce the effectiveness or severely neuter power or First Amendment rights. I really ask the city council to look at who's approving this, all right? The police. The police have enough problems as is. They have to deal with other things. There's a severe conflict between the police, choosing where a protest can happen. You take it away, you move it, you neuter the protest. Simple as that. So I ask, reconsider a nonpartisan board making these approving these applications. Just, you can be creative and think of other ideas than having the police decide it. The ones who will ultimately be enforcing.
Time. Jacob Phillips, followed by Clinton Rothen and Toyo Ubaldo.
Hello, I'm a lifelong resident of Charleston, a veteran, and a pre-med student. I'm here today to call on City Council to correct its mistake in illegitimately restricting the First Amendment rights of our people. People who are entitled to their rights by sacrifice. Sacrifice against the crown, against the Southern slaver aristocracy, against the Nazis, against tyranny wherever it rears its ugly head. This illegitimate ordinance has made the voice of the people contingent on the fallible judgment of men, specifically the police. While some might have integrity, it is specifically because some may not, which necessitates this ordinance be overturned. Having to ask permission from anyone is a direct contradiction with the ideals this country was founded on. This ordinance is abnormal, indignant, illegitimate, and an affront to free society, and erodes the legitimacy of city council each day it continues to exist. Thank you.
And Clinton, is there a Clinton in the audience?
Hi, my name is Goyo. I urge City Council to repeal the First Amendment protest ordinance. Requiring a permit for gatherings of 25 or more people silences vulnerable communities who rely on collective expression and free speech to be heard. The perceived threats this law aims to address do not outweigh the deep infringement on our most basic rights, free speech, assembly, and petition, not to mention its potential violations of our 5th and 14th Amendment protections against arbitrary enforcement and unequal treatment. I can only speak for myself as a Charleston resident, but it is my belief that those with power in this room should go above and beyond to support our rights rather than support barriers to free speech that our democracy requires. We shouldn't have to file an application to earn our civil rights.
All right, and we will go to our online speakers. And if you're online, if you can press *6 to unmute yourself when I call your name. Anthony Bryant.
Anthony G. Bryant. Just wanting to let you know that the First Amendment is vitally important in this country, in particular with frivolous lawsuits defined by a federal judge, publicly reprimanded by the U.S. Court of Appeals, and deeming my speech to be in writing paper terrorism. So I'm definitely uncomfortable in terms of what you're talking about at this council meeting right now, in terms of paper terrorism. So they can also use your documentation and your writings to deem you unconstitutional in this particular space and time. Just want to make sure you understand that clearly. Have a nice day.
Next is Brett Berry. And if you're joining virtually, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Actually, it looks like he is here.
Mr. Mayor and members of council. In 2020, council passed a resolution to remove and relocate the Calhoun Monument. Now, 5 years later, the matter still remains unresolved. I recognize and respect that there are many strong viewpoints on this matter. And they say you can never truly walk into someone else's shoes, but I believe it always is a worthwhile exercise. It's my understanding that council will consider a proposal that not only takes into consideration all the various viewpoints, but is also in line with Charleston's legacy of pioneering the preservation movement. Thank you for taking the time to work on this matter and hopefully resolve it. Thank you.
And Brian Holman, if you're online, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Brian Holman. Kirby Brooke. Matt Colburn.
I am here today to speak in support of repealing this unconstitutional First Amendment demonstration ordinance, which was only passed after former deputies Lindsay Fickett and Brian Buell, who were the ones responsible for the death of Jamal Sutherland in Alcannon Detention Center, faced no justice. And Scarlett Wilson, who was the solicitor, chalked up the death of Jamal as a grave mistake that did not amount to a crime. And as the result of Charleston Police Department escalating a peaceful protest and brutally arresting activists and community members, members of this council passed this ordinance with no public input to curtail our rights to not only use our voices to speak out against injustice, but to also avoid any accountability this council has to the people it governs. The only thing this ordinance has done is make us more unsafe and give more of a runway for Charleston Police Department to target local activists. This ordinance has only limited our freedom of speech and is another law in a long line of them that only serves those in power and to hurt those who challenge it. And I'll add, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Autumn Waddell, and if you're online, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good evening. I live in District 3. I'm here to call on the council to repeal its First Amendment demonstration ordinance. The city made the decision in 2021 to violate every Charlestonian's constitutional freedoms by passing this ordinance, giving our city the right to arrest and cite people for operating within their constitutional rights. This is unfair and unlawful. It is important to me that my elected officials are upholding and protecting my rights and freedoms, not stripping them away. I'm deeply disturbed that the council felt it could operate above the Constitution itself in order to undermine the very people it was elected to serve. The rights the First Amendment grants are vitally important to the health and wellness of our communities and country. Everyone should be allowed to use their collective voices to grieve, celebrate, educate, or advocate for their needs. This is not just my opinion, it is America's fundamental law. Thank you.
Charles Stevens, and if you're online, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, City Council, I'd like to ask you to please support settling the 4th Battalion, some regards lawsuit. It's been a number of years, and it'd be worthwhile to get them settled and put the funds, the legal funds, to better use in the city. Thank you so much.
Martin Levison.
Name and address.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I just wanted to state that the First Amendment ordinance was passed was an overreaction, and I didn't feel like it was necessary. How certainly.
Sir, can you speak a little closer into the microphone? Thank you.
I just wanted to state from what I have observed that the First Amendment ordinance law was actually an overreaction. It certainly was a situation that required some immediate response, but this was an overreaction. It was definitely eroding First Amendment rights, and it's ultimately putting us in a position that's more dangerous. It reminds me of a quote from President Kennedy stating, "Those who make peaceful expression impossible will make violent expression inevitable." So ultimately, this is harming our community. I hope it will be repealed. Thank you.
Those were all of the speakers that we had. We did have a few comments that we received online. We had 53 comments and 1 email in opposition to the annexation of Zero Folly Road. 2 comments were received in favor of the annexation of Zero Folly Road. 6 comments were received calling for the repeal of the First Amendment demonstration ordinance. And 1 comment was received from Anthony Bryant, and that was sent to City Council in full. And those are all the comments that we received.
Okay, we are now on to petitions and communications. We have a very special one tonight in memory of our colleague Dale Morris. And on the occasion of what would have been his 65th birthday, I would like council to entertain a resolution, first introduced by Councilman Appel, to name the Barbary Woods project an eco park, the Dale Morris Ecological Park. Can I entertain a motion before I read? We have a motion that's made, properly seconded. All those in favor of the renaming, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. I'd now like to read a resolution on this in Dale's honor. Whereas Dale Timothy Morris was born on May 13th, 1960, and grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And whereas Dale served in the U.S. Air Force from 1979 to 1984 in the Netherlands and later earned a BA in political science and economics from the University of Pittsburgh and an MA in international law, economics, and theory from the University of Virginia. And whereas after college, Dale worked as a legislative director in U.S. Congress, working on tax, budget, trade, agriculture, appropriations, and water issues. And whereas after working in the U.S. Congress, Dale worked for the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Washington, D.C. for 24 years, playing a key role in promoting Dutch water management expertise in the U.S. And whereas Dale developed the Dutch dialogues with his good friend David Wagner as part of the New Orleans recovery from the devastating impacts of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. And the Dutch dialogues would grow to help other cities around the country, including Houston, Norfolk, and eventually here in Charleston, South Carolina. And whereas Dale became the Director of Strategic Partnerships for the Water Institute of the Gulf in 2018, and later became Chief Resiliency Officer for the City of Charleston in 2021. And whereas Dale's contributions to the City of Charleston were extensive to include key contributions to the city's Army Corps Perimeter Protection Project, the city's comprehensive integrated water plan, the Barbary Woods Stormwater Management Project, and many, many others. And whereas we honor the legacy of Dale Morris, left through his distinguished career and the admiration he earned around the country and around the world, including his new home here in Charleston. And we express our deepest condolences to his children, Emily, Kieran, and other family and loved ones. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by the mayor and city council of the city of Charleston, South Carolina, this 13th day of May, 2025, as follows. On behalf of all of our citizens of Charleston, the mayor and city council of Charleston hereby celebrate the life of Dale Morris. And in honor of Dale's accomplishments and all that he did for our community, the mayor and council of Charleston hereby name the Barbary Woods Eco Park a green infrastructure flood reduction system on Johns Island where Dale lived, the Dale Morris Ecological Park. Very fitting tribute. Next items on the agenda are code enforcement officer appointments for livability and tourism. Can I entertain a motion? Move to approve. Just approved. Item number 2. We have a motion made, properly seconded. Any further discussion on this? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Opposed, ayes have it. Next, we have the agenda are a number of appointments for BAR large, BAR small, BAR site design. We are going to defer on BZA zoning, but then pick up DRB, Planning Commission, Commission on Disability Issues, Community Development Advisory Committee, Minority Women, Business Enterprises, and Redevelopment and Presentation.
And Mr. Mayor, there's one name that needs to be withdrawn from Community Development Advisory Committee, Zachary Pearman. He moved out of the community recently, so we just need to withdraw that name.
Zachary Pearman would be removed from Community Development Advisory. So can I entertain a motion?
So moved.
Okay, and for clarity, the motion is for approval of all of these with the exception of Zachary Pearman being pulled off of community development and deferring BZA a zoning. So we have a motion made, properly seconded. Any further discussion on this?
On, on item H, I, Devin Andrews, is that somebody who still lives in the community?
Sorry, I didn't hear that, but
You speak into the microphone a little. closer.
Sorry, is, on item H, I, is that, that for Devin Andrews, does that person still live in the community?
We can look into that if we need to defer that name.
I was just wondering if it was the only person of that name that I'm familiar with, moved, some time ago, but.
okay, we're going to defer Devin Andrews. We'll amend that motion to pull Devin Andrews off of. If that would be appropriate, Councilman Waring. Okay, so we have that further amended motion. Have a second.
Man, first, what's the reason? The reason?
We're not sure if he lives in the district, so we're just going to confirm that.
It's on the, you know, I was saying on
Mayor.
I think Gianna is.
This is-
Gianna, I think is
This is
online.
Gianna. Yes, sir. Based on the application he submitted, he does live in the city of Charleston in the communities.
Okay, well, that's good clarification. So we're going to scratch that. Devin Andrews, put it back on and go back to the original
motion.
motion.
That's what I was alluded to, because as long as you live in the city of Charleston, doesn't matter. He's still gonna serve on that particular board.
I got you. Okay. We have a motion made, properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Knocked a lot of housekeeping out there, gentlemen. Thank you. We are now on to consent agenda items. No action needs to be taken, but I would like to, or any who would present on special facilities update.
Special facilities. We only had an update by Romaine. And she was talking about some of the elevators that was broken, that they are working on it already. And also with the Angel Oak tree, one of the branches fell off, and they have secured that on the Angel Oak tree. So everything else, it was just up at the updated information that she was given.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. We're now on to Committee on Public Safety. I'd like to call on Councilman Shealing for the report.
Thank you, Mayor Cogswell. The Public Safety Committee met April 15th at 4:00 p.m. All agenda items were unanimously approved. We had a couple of grants that were unanimously approved. The first one has already been through Ways and Means and City Council back in April, on April 22nd, was unanimously approved by council already. The next grant we saw at Ways and Means earlier today. And the third item on the agenda was an approval of an MOA between the Charleston Center and Charleston Police Department for a 90-day sobering services pilot project. And I'd ask for adoption of the report, please.
Second.
We have a motion made to adopt the report, second, properly seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. We are now on to Committee on Recreation, Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a lot of updates, a lot of really exciting things happening throughout the city at all of our city parks, an update on youth sports. The most important item would be, which we do need to take action on, is our updates for our recreation ordinance. So I move that we approve the updates to the recreation ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion made, properly seconded, to adopt the report and approve the amended language. Is that
In the ordinance, yes.
in the ordinance? Okay, we have a motion made, properly seconded. Any further discussion on this? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We are now on to Councilman Waring for Committee on Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All actionable items on the agenda, as you see before you, passed by a unanimous vote, and I move for adoption of the report.
A motion made for adoption, properly seconded. Any further discussion on this committee
Yes, sir.
report?
Please, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Councilman Shealy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. I just want to say thank you to Matt Fountain and our entire stormwater team for all the work they've done on Bridgepoint. It's been a long, great project. I think I was included in talks on Bridgepoint back in 2018, so I think it's been about 7 years. And it's actually that Bridgepoint property where I met face to face the members of Dutch Dialogues, including Dale Morris, and the work and persistence that's been put into that project's just going to benefit the people who live along Church Creek Basin and help prevent property damage for many, many years. Last summer we had that Hurricane Debbie come through, and while we saw Church Creek rise above the banks, we didn't see the expected property damage that we thought we would. In fact, Crosstown Church, which had flooded multiple times, they got some water in their parking lot, but it didn't enter the church building this time. So the work at Bridgepoint played a role in those positive results, and I know it's going to be a big benefit to us. So I just want to give my sincere appreciation to all our stormwater staff, of course, Mr. Fountain, for all the work you've done and you continue to do in the Church Creek Basin. It's great to have seen a project go from beginning to end and be part of that the whole time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Shealy. We have a motion made to up, Councilman Bowden.
So I just want to quickly echo that. And it's the Bridgepoint site is actually very, very cool. If anybody wants to come out there and see it, I can't offer steaks and beers like our friend on John's Island, but I strongly recommend going out and checking it out. We hear all the time that we don't have enough green space in Charleston and we need to preserve it. And here we are in the middle of a neighborhood where you can, step out of that environment and feel like you are, truly out in the middle of nature. It's I think a great blueprint for the future, with some recognition that you're still in the middle of a neighborhood, which I think is something that our friend Dale came to realize from hearing from me a number of times. But certainly, I invite everybody to go out and see how the money's been spent. I think it's worth seeing.
Probably something to be proud of. All right. Motion made, probably seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, on to Councilman Seekings and Traffic and Transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Committee on Traffic and Transportation met last month. We had 4 reports and 1 item of action. We had a report on the Ashley River crossing. It's coming along nicely. You don't need to believe me. Just drive across and take a look by the Round Holiday Inn. A lot going on. One note and caveat to those who are traveling in the evenings and at night across those bridges. On the South Bridge, there will be a number of lane closures coming up for the next couple of weeks to make sure that we get progress on that bridge. We got an update on Safe Streets for All grant applications, which are going along according to plan. We got an update from our friends at Flowbird on their parking meter installation. They did promise us they would have all the meters installed, and they did. We asked them how many were not operable on the day of the meeting, which was April 22nd, and they said 0. So more to come on that, I'm sure. We got an update on River Road improvements vis-a-vis the Johns Island Elementary School. And again, the report is that those improvements will be completed in advance of the first day of school. Finally, we have one action item, which is a request to accept the maintenance responsibilities for King Street, otherwise known as S10-104, from Line Street to John Street. One reason it doesn't go from Line Street to Calhoun is we already have accepted maintenance responsibilities and ownership from John Street to Calhoun. That passed the committee unanimously. I would so move and ask this council approve it as well.
A motion made, properly seconded. Any further discussion on P&T? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? I'm sorry. We have Councilman McBride.
Yeah, just one comment, just the second to last item about the River Road improvements in the Johns Island Elementary School related to that. Just for everyone's awareness, tomorrow CCSD is hosting a community meeting at about the new Johns Island Elementary School and River Road improvements at St. John's High School. tomorrow, 6 to 7 p.m. Again, that's CCSD hosting a community meeting at St. John's High School on Main Road about the new Johns Allen Elementary School and River Road improvements. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion made, properly seconded. Any further comments that I missed? Apologize for that, Councilman McBride. None, all in favor, adopting the report and the acceptance of maintenance from King Street. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, ayes have it. We're now on to Ways and Means. Call on Councilman Greg.
Second. All right, that concludes my committee report. I believe there is some discussion around item E 9EA, Deer Folly Road.
So could we maybe entertain a motion to take all but Folly and then we can discuss Folly? So. Okay, I think the motion is to take all items under the Ways and Means report together with the exception of
Folly Road 0.
There we go. It's on.
Zero Folly.
Yes.
Do I have a second to that motion? A motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now I would like to, we pick up the item on Zero Folly. I'd also like to ask our legal counsel to come up and give a brief background on where we are right now for discussion purposes, and then I'll open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As spoken with a lot of you tonight, this is a request from the developer based on a request from staff. This project is currently in TRC. It has been sitting in TRC since 2014. This 3-acre parcel is in the county right now, and they're going to use this for a 3-acre detention pond to satisfy the special protection area requirements associated with that. Do you have any questions about details? I'm here to help in any way I can.
Remain and any further questions for legal counsel regarding this? Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, so one. All right, so if we annex this, the development will move forward as planned. If we don't annex it, what happens if the piece of property stays in the county?
If the piece of property stays in the county, the developer would then just carry that particular parcel through the county for zoning and a request to dig it out as a retention pond. So it would be through 2 different municipalities in their processes.
So there's effectively no difference in the net developable area.
Correct.
Thank you.
Parker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Copeland, for explaining that. I do struggle with that wholly and completely. I am concerned that the city's taking a stance. This is a way to sort of end the lawsuit. I've obviously received a lot of public comment from James Island opposed to this annexation. I am voting no and would encourage my colleagues to as well. There are a lot of complex layers in regards to this particular development property. As Ms. Copeland said, it's been ongoing for over a decade. But I think my biggest, this council passed stormwater regulations. And I think it's really important that if we all believe in those stormwater regulations, that we stand on them. I mean, we back them up. I mean, if this is what we believe our stormwater regulations should look like, specifically in low-lying areas like James Island, then we should hold that line, and this lawsuit shouldn't be preventing us from doing so. I do, while this annexation will assist the developer in meeting their stormwater regulations, like I said before, I do oppose the way that we've kind of handled it as a city, in the sense that you know, again, we're moving forward with this. We're approving this to settle this lawsuit under the guise that, you know, this is going to happen anyway. I don't feel that there have been enough attempts to try and look at different ideas and ways to, you know, have better stormwater systems put into place. I don't, we have a lot of tools in the toolbox. Our water plan just made a, you know, a roadshow around Charleston. I mean, if we're implementing all of these practices, you know, why aren't we working closer with this developer to utilize everything we're putting out there? Look at Barberry Woods, look at How Lab, you know, all these creative ideas that have come about. I don't see any in this development as it stands now. There are certainly ways that this developer could have made this project work, obviously lowering the footprint. We know that's probably not high on the developer's list. They could have added green, more resilient features, but like I said, as of now, I don't believe there are any. I just feel that this is the exact type of project that we could and should be working with developers to create more resilient features. And again, you know, this is an extremely low-lying, sensitive area of James Island. So my vote will be no, and I ask my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
But if I may, just for clarification though, if we annex in, we have a lot more control over the stormwater because they are under our purview versus the county's purview related to stormwater. So if we wanted to get more creative and work with the developer on creative and nature-based solutions, they would first have to annex into the city for us to do so. Is that an accurate statement, or?
I would say if they do annex into the city, we would have more control over that parcel and how they use it, yes.
And that is why I support it, for no other reason but give us control and to have it fall under our far more strict stormwater ordinance than the county's stormwater. Councilman Seeking?
Sorry, so I'm interested procedurally where we are. If we deny the annexation, how does that help us with any current or threatened litigation? I'm confused on that. Is there underlying litigation here?
There is underlying litigation.
But not over this parcel against the city because it's not in the city.
Correct.
Okay, I guess that's all I need to know.
Waring?
I'm a little dense, so I need another explanation, okay? If we annex this property, obviously the development goes forward. If we do not annex this property, does this development go forward?
It could still go forward, yes.
It could still go
Parcel
forward.
would be in the county.
Right. Our stormwater regs lead the region. People follow us. And there are times where we had to modify it. But I think if anybody out there thinks that the development is not going to happen as a result of this vote, my belief is it's still going to go forward. So do we want to go forward in the county? We have friends in the county, but frankly, we just got to recognize and well-deserved Mr. Dale Morris, and his fingerprints are all over our stormwater regs, and we celebrate that. I would much rather see it develop with our guidelines, having some of the unique aspects that Barberry Woods and has in it, or the stormwater solution that we have for Central Park Road in an area that's flooded, that will have a similar solution with a park like wetland being created by the city to solve flooding in that area. And I believe a similar solution could be arrived at
to the coordination of our stormwater department with this development that eventually will happen, whether it's in the city, this parcel or not. So for those reasons, I think we lose control by having the properties developed in the city and the stormwater answered in the county. So for those reasons, the coordination, I'm going to support.
Any further comments? I'd entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Motion made. On a second.
Sorry.
I'll second it. Or who seconded it? I'm not do it. All right. Any further discussion? Councilman Bell?
Can I just quickly ask, I was under the impression that the county had adopted similar stormwater regulations with us. So I guess can we get a better understanding of what the differences would be that the city would require versus what the county would require if that parcel remained in the county? And I ask because I share Councilmember Parker's hesitation about low-lying areas, considering my entire district is one of these special protection areas.
Mr. Fountain, can you give a brief comparison of the two?
Sorry, a technical comparison of the two ordinances is not a brief discussion. The county did adopt some of the requirements from our special protection area requirements and applied them to the entirety of James Island, treated the entirety of James Island as a special protection area in addition to West Ashland and Johns Island. Their ordinances don't completely overlap with our ordinances. We do have some modeling requirements, some rainfall requirements, some of our tailwater conditions that are a little bit more restrictive than theirs, even though there are certainly more similarities on James Island, Johns Island, and West Ashley because of that special protection area designation that the county put forth than there would be if we get into other areas of the city. In terms of exactly how those differences would apply, that's a pretty in-depth, detailed conversation. Depends on what approach the developer takes. It would still be a slightly more protective requirement almost under any scenario under the city regulation than under the county regulation. It does provide a little more continuity of review to have one entity reviewing the entirety rather than two entities reviewing different approaches with different regulation sets. So a little more likelihood that it will succeed in consistency of design, which is important when you're trying to maintain or get the system to function. And then from a maintenance perspective, of course, you don't have it straddling two different jurisdictions of who maintains which section. So that's a very brief overview. If you have any specific areas that you talk about more detail.
Thank you. I've got Councilman McBride. Then I'll come.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to kind of reiterate what some other council members said in again, and Mr. Fountain just made a good point. It makes sense to me that it's all in one jurisdiction. You know, if the developer can develop anyway, if it's city and county, then enforcing stormwater regulations seems more complicated if it's crossing two different governmental bodies versus one. And that's good to hear that the county has generally adopted the city's stormwater regulations, which are very strict. And I do want to address the public comments that were said at the beginning that were based on a lot of perceptions that this annexation would lead to something that may not be the case. Meaning, like, if it wasn't annexed, it could still be developed. I don't know if that was understood by a lot of people, including myself, until this meeting. So just wanted to point out that, again, our stormwater regulations are strict. And just to summarize, and Mr. Fountain, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but summarize it that any development that happens, the stormwater impact has to be equal to or better than before the development happened. So I think that annexing into the city makes sense, keeping it under one jurisdiction instead of city and county. But if there's something I'm missing, I'm willing to, listen between now and second and third reading. But as of now, this seems to make sense to go forward with the annexation.
Thank you, Councilman Bride. Councilman Gregory?
Yeah, mine was a question, because that, as I listened to the residents, the issue for them is flooding. Okay, because it's a low-lying area. And the annexation is specifically for retention, not developing on the property. And so my question is, okay, if we don't annex in for the retention, how will not annexing in affect the existing flooding?
So first, just a point of clarity, and I know this doesn't mean anything probably except to me, but it would be detention instead of retention.
Okay.
Retention means it can never be released from the property, where detention, it slows it down and then eventually releases. The project would, at this scale and under our regulations, require a slight improvement to stormwater and flooding in the area. The county has some similarities with the regulations, so it's possible that they would have some level of improvement with theirs as well, but more certainty, of course, of how that would work under our regulations.
So if we annex, it provides better protection for the immediate neighborhood, is what I'm asking, I guess.
Yeah, so if we annex, it would be subject to our stormwater regulations. Our stormwater regulations are still generally more protective than the county's regulations, and you would have a generally larger improvement to drainage in the area from it developing in the city than it.
Thank you.
Discussion, Councilman Appel.
All right, thank you, Matt and Julia, for this. So I'm looking at a copy of the site plan right now, and just so everybody's clear, and everybody got this in their packet. The current parcels that are in the city are where all of the development is going. That's where all of the proposed townhomes and other units are going. The parcel that we're considering annexing in is like a square parcel on top of the existing assemblage. And I'm looking at that square parcel in relation to the site plan, and it's literally just a pond in a square. So this property that we're talking about annexing into the city is simply for a pond. So it's not like we're annexing new land to drop more townhomes on property, just to make sure everybody, do I have that right? Okay. All right. So one thing that I think we ought to look at between now and second and third reading is, Councilmember Gregg asked a very good question about what would happen if we just didn't do anything. Could they still achieve stormwater compliance with this square parcel in the county? And I think we've heard from a technical perspective, the answer is yes. But my question is more of a zoning question that I think we need to run down with Charleston County, is that the property is currently zoned R4 in the county, which is their standard residential base zoning district. Would the county treat a stormwater detention pond as a permitted use under zoning in the R4 district? Because if that's not the case, then we might have a little bit of a different situation on our hands, where this project, they really need us a lot more than perhaps maybe leading on, which could, necessitate perhaps some further discussions. I'm not asking y'all to give me a zoning opinion on what the county requires. I just put out there for consideration that I could see a world in which Charleston County would not allow infrastructure of this kind as a primary use on a residentially zoned parcel. I just think that's something worth us drilling into. But last thing I'll just say is we deal with this a lot all over the city. We certainly deal with it on properties in my district, where we're unfortunately the inheritors of a lot of bad zoning decisions by our predecessors. I mean, this property was zoned LB back, over a decade ago. And unfortunately, for the properties that are already in the city, they're entitled to this level of density with respect to these townhomes. The only reason they're not already being built is because of our strict stormwater requirements that are requiring them to find additional land to hold their water. There's two ways developers can deal with that challenge. One is to scale back their plan on their current parcel. The other is to acquire more land to hold their water. They've decided to take the latter approach, but unfortunately, this is a difficult situation that the city's dealing with, and I think we're just trying to talk through and figure out the best way to proceed. So thank you all, and maybe we can look into those zoning issues between now and second and third reading. Thank you all.
Great point. Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Councilmember Appel. You absolutely touched on what I was just about to say. I mean, we're discussing the annexation, we're discussing the stormwater, but the zoning, again, is the key. I have yet to really be crystal clear on this project can happen regardless. So I think that's a great point. And if we can navigate, if we can get a clear answer on that, I think that would be really helpful. Quick question for Mr. Fountain. Even if again, zoning aside, if it was not annexed, would we allow, our stormwater regulations allow water to be held on another site in another jurisdiction, if that makes sense?
Yes, there certainly are projects that have mixed jurisdiction, from road projects to subdevelopment projects where there are annexation lines that even split in existing TMS numbers sometimes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll end with this, that I just, obviously I cannot help but feel that there is a reason for this annexation, for the developer to really maximize their footprint here. There are wetlands here that are going to be filled. There are trees that are going to come down. I mean, sure, certainly none of us want to see that, but I certainly feel they're trying to max out the footprint first by the lawsuit. I think the lawsuit is to not be overlooked. Then obviously annexing this parcel. I don't like it, and I will continue with my advocacy to vote no. If we offer a motion to defer, will this give staff and the developer time to discuss with the developer further and all of these questions that have been raised?
I think we can get clarity. I think we have Councilman speaking.
Thanks. I just have a question and sort of came to mind with Councilmember Appel's observations. Has anybody asked the county whether or not a stormwater detention pond usage would be allowed by them for a project that's built around them in another jurisdiction, AKA the city?
I don't think anybody has. I would venture to guess that. So
I think that's
Councilman Appel, Councilman Parker, Councilman Seekings bring up good points. So Councilman Waring.
I think we should defer.
I'll move to defer.
I'll second it.
Wait. Okay, we have a motion. We have a motion on the floor that's been seconded to approve.
The borough takes
Take precedent. I'm learning my Robert's rules here.
Take precedent.
So we have now a motion to defer with let me just get this second and then we can go with we have a second. Now, any further conversations on this? Councilman Greg.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question on the zoning. Councilman Rappel mentioned that this was R4 or LB, I think, and that's different than what was shown in the ordinance.
Councilmember Greg, can you talk closer into?
Sorry, is that
Thanks.
better? I believe the what we had in our packet showed that this was S4 was the current zoning in the county, and it's being shown as annexed in as conservation, which is different than what Councilman Rappel said.
No, staff is recommending limited business,
Okay,
but with the deed restrictions, it would be limited to 3 units per acre.
okay, thank you.
Okay, We have a motion to defer, properly seconded. All those in favor of deferment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The motion is deferred. We are now up for bills for second reading. There are 11
Move for
bills up
approval.
for second reading.
Second.
While we have a motion for approval for bill second reading for 1 through 11. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Shall these bills tie it?
So moved.
So
move. Second.
for third reading. We have a motion made for third reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We have one bill up for first reading, which is on the recreation. We have motion made, probably seconded. Any further discussion on the Recreation Commission ordinance? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Mr. Mayor,
We have somebody,
just a quick comment.
sorry.
I would just ask that council get ready to send your appointments to the clerk, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, I'll do two things at once. We are now on to, executive session. We're gonna leave, can I have a motion to go into executive session. Seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Executive session will be in a room over there, should be brief. So we'll be back momentarily.
We go into Credit One Stadium.
We have a quorum. Can I get a motion to come out of executive session? A motion made, properly seconded to come out of executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are now out of executive session where we received some legal advice. No action was taken. There's no further comments or questions from this council. I move for adjournment, meeting adjourned.